I'm so happy to be here because I want to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is confidence. And we're going to talk about the dynamics of confidence within ourselves, how we gain confidence, how do we define confidence, what success looks like, and how do we learn from mistakes, because that really gives us a sense of confidence. So before we start this conversation, I want to get your point of view about how do you define confidence? What are some of the definitions that you may have about confidence? What does it mean to you?
I think the way you stand, and you have to have inner strength and outer strength as well.
Right? Good point. Somebody else?
I had a parent who was really struggling with whether to give sugary snacks or just not giving sugary snacks and finding more healthy options. And after working with her some time, I think she's feeling much more confident to say no to the sugary stuff.
So sometimes being confident is saying no. So when we think about, some of these basic definitions of them, the self-esteem aspect of our lives, of feeling confident. Sometimes we accomplish things. That's a sense of confidence. I do it. And making positive changes for my life, like making good choices. So really, so much of confidence, it starts with us, our own personal development as a human being. It is also much about what you mentioned, about my self-esteem, then I feel like a winner, I feel like a great person. For some of us, it's about hard work. I earn my confidence. Sometimes we learn our confidence through difficult times. And that's really part of being confident. And if anything, it's about being consistent and persistent in achieving something. That gives us some. So let's think about now our own, how do we learn that? So I'm going to ask you then, who are some important people in your life that you learn confidence from?
My mom, she just exudes confidence wherever she goes, and she taught me how to do that.
Oh, so you got some of her stuff, huh? Mm-hmm. Right. Somebody else?
I said my granddad, because he definitely was the kind of person that worked really hard, but he was a short-statured person. He was probably about my height, but he had a really big personality. So definitely my grandfather.
So I love the personality stuff. It looks like you have some of that personality traits as
Perhaps,
well.
perhaps, maybe.
Fantastic. Anybody else?
Well, I had a teacher that I really loved. I learned a whole lot from her.
Yeah. Teachers are really
Yes.
great role models for us.
Yeah.
I think, and your exuberance really shows that teacher did a great
Yeah.
job.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yeah. So it could be a mom, a grandfather. Sometimes it could be, a teacher that really inspires. It could be a coach. And sometimes, I could be a colleague. So truly, those people give us a sense of power, don't they? Yes. And it could be from very early on. It could be, a great teacher that we had recently. They all help us. So when we think about the importance of families and those key people in our lives, think about every child's sense of confidence, where that starts. So the more we read the research, children really learn right at home. I mean, right around the table, very similar to this, let's say at dinner time, that we're learning from our parents how to make healthy choices and smart choices, how to build that as well. For many of us, we've had the fortune of really the value of having dinner with families, right? That we hear stories, we hear about the struggles that many of our parents have. And hearing those stories very early on, we are capturing essence of being able to do. And sharing those stories is really important element in building confidence. So for example, you hear about maybe, the grandfather who did a great thing, maybe at the farm, and you go, wow, that's great. Or mom that said, I did 5 loads of laundry today, and I'm tired, but I did them all. That's a real sense of pride. And at other times we hear about some struggles. Maybe they had some difficulty things with jobs or things that are happening in their lives. And then we hear stories about how they were able to surpass a lack of confidence, that they're able to say, I'm going to try again and again. So confidence really starts with those conversations that we have with our children from a very young age. Because remember, children are observing, right? Yes. And children are observing, and they're listening to the stories. They're listening to see how we're moving ahead, how to feel good about myself. And boy, there's nothing better than a mom or a grandpa, a teacher who really exudes that for us. So, sometimes, it's not always a success stories, but sometimes we really learn from very difficult ones. So let's do a little reflection about this confidence. So as we think about how we gain and attain a sense of confidence, what do you see as kind of a common elements? And how do we create a culture of confidence? Anybody?
Families are the foundations to building confidence.
Family. So the families is really foundation. Fantastic. Mm-hmm.
It's different characteristics. Some kids are extroverts and some are introverts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we know those children. Some children come to our centers, right, in our schools, And you know they're the bossy ones, right? They had full of life, full of life.
Making mistakes, it happens, but learning from those mistakes helps me feel more confident the next go around.
Right. You know, I'm so glad you brought that up because we think that a mistake is a terminal condition. And actually, they're lessons for life, aren't they? Yes. Because we try it again, and we're able to be successful in the process as well. So I'm going to ask you then kind of a general question for all of us here. So think about all these mistakes that we make, and I'm going to share a personal one. You know, sometimes I do projects with the children that I've worked with, and they fail, you know? And I feel kind of bad about myself, or, you know, maybe I have poor communication with some families, and it doesn't go so well. So my confidence as a teacher sort of goes down. So what can I do to feel more confident? Are there any particular ideas?
Well, just keep trying.
Okay, I'll keep trying.
Be humble and accept your mistake.
For many of us, being humble is really difficult, right? Because I want to be perfect. And when I'm not perfect, it sort of brings me down. And I think a sense of humble, like you have mentioned, really will help me out. Someone else? Okay. So great. So feeling, you know, if anything, this is really important in our jobs, right? Because the children are seeing us as role models. That, you know, they see us as teachers. They see us as role models. I like to tell folks that, you know, once you walk into the classroom, we are the star, aren't we? We have walked that red carpet, and those children are watching us. They're watching us, they're seeing us, and how can we remain like that entire day is very difficult. So being a role model is a very difficult position, and a role model of confidence all the time. By the way, also families see us as being confident as well, and that's something that we really, really have to always keep in mind. And again, back to our work with children, how do we give children the sense that, yes, I can do this, right? Whether they're riding a tricycle for the first time, or they're building a very tall tower out of blocks. You know, and I always love the block area because sometimes they experiment, those blocks come down, right? And what do we say? Put it up. Yeah. And we do it again. And you know, and you work with infants and toddlers. We know from the toddlers, right? When they start to walk, they're going to do what? They're going to fall. And what do? They get up again. I tell you, I think that's the best lesson for all of us to be able to say, I got to be like a toddler. I'm going to get up and keep going. So always, you know, we are those role models of confidence. And always to think about the learning process is about new ideas, new challenges, new skills. And that's, if I feel good about myself, I'll be able to do those things as well. So similarly, with families, we have to really create that relationship of confidence as well. And the first step to be able to do that, certainly to have a sense of what? Respect. You know, how do I achieve a sense of respect? Because out of respect comes what? A sense of trust. Right? They go sort of hand in hand in order to have a bonding relationship with them. And sometimes family really need people like us to say, hey, you're a great mom or you're a great dad and you'll be able to do this. And that's really where the bonding. Because what do we have in common with them? We have their children. Yes. Right? And what a privilege in many ways that is, that we can say to a parent, look at us. You and I share this child. I have it for a very short time, right? And you have it for the rest of your life. So what can we do to really create that relationship that's going to last a long, long time? So, and then families can be challenging in our work, right? We have families that they want to know all about the program, the curriculum. They want to know about the quality. They want to know about your qualifications, for example. Yeah, and sometimes, you know, those are the parents who may volunteer. They may go on a field trip with us, right? And then at the other end of the spectrum, what happens? There are parents who may not be so enthusiastic. They say, oh, you're just a babysitter. Oh, you. So all you do is just have fun all day, you know? Or you know, they think that, you know, maybe this is not a great program. School really starts later, not now. So professionally, they don't see us in the same level. And they rarely ever volunteer to do anything in the classroom. On the other hand, you know, we have parents who are really active in our centers, correct? And then there are those parents who are not. But they're all families. They're all families. They all want the very best for the children. We always have to believe that, right? Because our work is really about children and families. We're going to be able to have that spectrum of relationship regardless. So let's start with what works with families. You know, and I always like it's so easy to complain about parents, but it's actually healthier to think about success stories. So we'll talk a little bit about success stories. So when you think about success stories in your work with families. What kind of elements of confidence have come up with you?
Yeah, I have one parent who signed up for GED course, and she successfully finished that, and she's really proud of it, and our class also proud of her too.
So a sense of pride is really about success, isn't it? And GED is not easy, so congratulations, that's great. Another success story that you want to share?
After many years, I went back to school, and it was so hard. But you know what? I finished my college, and I have a straight A, so I'm so happy and confident for that.
Well, let's celebrate her, yay! Something else about success stories.
Well, I worked with a parent who was having a hard time recognizing that her daughter may need some special attention related to language development. So we, spoke with the parent and shared our observations, but we also shared some of the results from the assessments and screenings. And, after a while, it took her a little bit of time, but we did get an opportunity to get the child with a speech therapist. And the parent is definitely more confident with how their child's language abilities are progressing. So that was a great success.
I'm so proud of that work because it is a very difficult step
Yes,
to take.
yes.
And you had that difficult conversation, but now everybody's successful.
Right, and the child is happy and doing better. So win-win.
Great. Thank you.
My success story might sound a little trivial, but I had a parent that was coming in late with their child, and it was going on for weeks. And finally, I sat her down and said, we got to figure this out. And it turned out she just needed to get them ready the night before. And so she would start putting them to bed earlier, feeding them dinner earlier, putting out their clothes, and just that simple change made all the difference. And now she's on time every day with her kids. So, yeah, it's great.
That's great. Think about success in all of this. Some of them are small steps, right? Some of them are major life-changing aspects. A lot of them are about hard work. So truly, a lot of these elements of success we need to celebrate. There's not going to be a parade for a success story, but you have to have a sense of confidence that what you've done is really the right thing for that family and that child. Yeah. So I'm going to just tell you a little bit of scenario and see if you guys can help me. I'm working with this family, and she's bringing really, unhealthy snacks. Let's say that, and she sneaks, candy bars and soda pop, and because she thinks the child likes it. But I think it's creating something with the other children, and to be honest, I'm sort of losing my patience. I've been telling her not to bring it, but they keep coming in. So do you have some ideas how can I be successful with this family in terms of changing this very unhealthy sort of diet? We try to do the right thing in the classroom, and family child care home as well, but sometimes, we have a difficult situation like this where people's habit get in the way. So do you have any ideas what I can do?
You can lovingly educate the parent about healthy food.
Lovely educate. I love that, lovely.
Fearless, say no, because it's very unhealthy. It's not good for the children, so say plain no.
So I love this. So we have a contrast between being lovely and nice, right? And also sometimes we have to say no. It is not allowed, isn't it? It is not allowed because it's really not good for the entire community of learners that we have. Right. Anything else you can think of for this dilemma that I'm having? Okay, let's keep going. So listen, there are many, many families challenges that we have. And sometimes, it starts with me. What are my thoughts and ideas and judgments and biases, stereotypes, assumptions that I have about families? And, how can I work through that? So as you can see, I'm a little older. So I have a real issue around technology. And I don't know if it happens in your classroom. When the family comes to pick up their child and they're on the phone, they drag the child out of the classroom, and there's no time for communication. For me, this is a very difficult one because I want to be able to share what has happened. Then there are other families who really, they fail to recognize that we are professionals, and that's really hard, And again, this whole idea that our work is really not of value when we know it has a great, great, great value. Yeah. So a lot of these things deals with communication or what people think about it. So let's think a little bit about communication because that's something that can help us have great conversations with families. Okay, we really got to work on that. We think just talking to one another makes it all, but it really takes a lot of work. First of all, we know, according to a lot of the research, that what our faces Look at our faces, right? Our smiles, our eyes, and certainly our bodies is communication. It's about 90% communication. And sometimes what we say is about less than 10%. So I got to be able to be aware of what my body's saying, what my face is saying, because to see what the families are hearing from us, and also how they're interpreting our own communication with them. So we know that that's really, we have to be really clear about my body communication, and also the clarity of my language with them. So considering that, I'm just going to maybe play a little game with you all. Are you ready for a little game? Okay. All right. Let's see. It's sort of a guessing game. Are you ready? Yeah. So, all right. So, yeah, good morning.
It's not really a good morning.
How do you know it's not a real good morning?
You're just shrugging and looking away.
Oh, shrugging, looking away. So, yeah. And I don't know how many times I've been to schools, in my own kid's school, the teacher say, good morning, right? And she may not even be aware of that. Well, I'm going to take off my glasses with this one. Oh, God, you're late again. Jesus. I can't believe her. What is that saying to you?
Having an attitude.
An attitude.
There she goes again.
Oh, there she goes again. Mm-hmm.
Or what's her problem? What's your problem?
What's your problem? What's your problem? Good. I think you got that one right. Okay. Okay, here's the... Oh, so you want to talk to me? Why don't you just call me and we'll make an appointment, okay?
You're ignoring.
Dismissive. So sometimes, our communication really fails, doesn't it? Because we think we're being cool and savvy, but actually this is really speaking very, very loudly. And I got to be able to be, if anything, again, respectful. Yes. Remember, we have this incredible sort of responsibility to take care of someone's child, to really help in their development and learning. Yeah. And that parent really looks at us as, hey, as a partner. And how can I have a greater relationship with that parent all the time? So, and if anything, so we have to really have our ears open for parents and be able to read between the lines. There's a saying that says that, those of you who are believers, by nature we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use accordingly, okay? So the whole idea of active listening, right? To be an active listener, to listen to parents' concerns, because their concerns are very real. And sometimes we'll see a lack of confidence, or a concern about nutrition, or concern about health. And as listening, as part of our own kind of best practice, we have to be able to listen and maybe provide some kind of support out of that as well. So always be a great listener. That's really, as teachers, whether it's a child or whether it's an adult, always have it. And how do we create a family friendly? Because remember, gosh, the first 5 years of life, right? What better? Should be a joyful, healthy, and friendly environment for every child and every family that comes to all of us. And in our field, we always talk about intentionality. You've heard that word? What does that mean? When you hear intentionality, what does that mean to you?
Like you mean to do it.
Like you mean to do it. With purpose, absolutely. So intentionality really gets to the point of much of the work that we do. And again, we are on. So we start the day, actually intentionality starts from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. That's right. Starts when I say to you, good morning, look at you today. I just love what you're wearing. And I have a big smile, right? Yes. And what does that convey to that child and to the parent? Because remember, the parent's looking at us, right? Right. Parents looking at us and they're saying, boy, I welcome you. My baby. Yes. You are unique, you're special. Absolutely. Yeah. And that intentionality goes to the end of the day. Right. See you tomorrow. Okay? Bye. Say hi to the puppy, okay? I love that puppy. I love your puppy. And that makes our full day, doesn't it? Absolutely. So truly, the intentionality of who goes, and it really builds what? Confidence. Because that child feels what? Unique. My teacher, the person that I respect and love, pays attention to me. That is absolutely key. So I'm going to give you one last scenario here, and I want you to really help me with this, because this is a key to the work that we do nowadays. One is the challenges of families in poverty. There's we have so many families who live in poverty in our country, and I feel helpless. I don't know how to help them. And also, I don't know how to be able to change their circumstances. And I don't know whether they can even change their circumstances. So how do I help a family in their sense of confidence so that their children are strong and healthy. Any ideas you want to share?
Doesn't matter if they're rich or poor, because they need to be respected. Where are they coming from? Because community need to support them, you know?
That's great, because we know that it is about respect and trust. So those two really go hand in hand. Thank you so much. That's a great point. Something else about poverty.
Being supportive of what they already know and just, giving them the confidence to say, you know this, you got this.
You got it. I got your back, huh? Right. I got your back. I got your back. Thank you. Something else?
I think it's important to remind families in poverty that they're not alone and it doesn't define them.
Great. So this is a difficult point for many of us, because as we know that living in poverty is not something that is their fault, right? We have to be able to make sure that we guarantee that, to say, many of us have come from poverty, for example, that it is not a matter that you're destined to be in poverty the rest of your life. It is something that we really, that kind of message that it is not a crime, it's not a punishment, okay? And that also was great about this, and some of you have already mentioned this, that their children come to this world without having those hang-ups, right? They only learn that later on, that the fact that it can be detrimental and rob away from a sense of confidence. And that, when you're poor, it's really hard. You got to feed your family, you got to have a roof over your head, you got to deal with transportation issues. And maybe school is not your number one priority, because paying the bills may be your number one priority in many, many, many ways. So our work with children and families, especially around poverty, we really want to be able to emphasize a sense of strength. What are the strengths that each family has? How every family should be a diamond. Is how do we polish and be able to find a sense of brilliance for each of them? And how do we be able to say, yes, you can do this? It's going to be very, very hard. So I just want to be able, as we sort of round up our conversation, let's think about teachers out there in the world. Are there any particular strategies or techniques that you would recommend to teachers about building confidence and a sense of healthy being to the families they work with? Something in particular you have?
Educate the families about, how to be confident so their children can be confident in this. They learn from their role models.
Good. Being role models. Fantastic.
Communication with colleagues and see how we can help those people. So communication between co-workers and also with the parents, that can be it.
So the whole community of learners, so to speak, our own school or my center, all of us communicate that. Any other ideas you want to give your fellow teachers in the world?
Well, I think it's one thing I would say that we definitely need to check our own bias. So I know folks were talking about families that are living in poverty and those types of circumstances, but not assuming that an economic situation means the child will lack confidence. So, and not really assuming anything, taking the opportunity to get to know children and families one-on-one, and then really moving forward from there.
Right. I think you've underlined the heart of our work, which is about relationships.
Right.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a great conversation, hasn't it? Yeah. I mean, when we think about confidence and the importance of that, first of all, for children and certainly for their family, and even for ourselves, we gotta keep reaffirming our professional ethics. And one of those professional ethics is that our work is about children and families, right? Bottom line, always, always, we continue to motivate, we continue to coach, we continue to cheer on, we continue to inspire, and that inspiration, both our words and our actions and our body language, really says a lot for families. Hey, you really can do this. But most importantly, keep in mind that each family, just like children, their own stages of development about healthy habits. They're sort of discovering, they're trying to figure, what does it mean to be healthy today? And I think part of that conversation, communication stuff that we talked about is really key. We want them to set them in that course of real progress, little, small steps, big steps, but to have healthy habits for their families and for themselves as well. So let that relationship with each family be a vehicle for success for their children and families. How's that? Are you with me on that one? All right, let's do it. All right.